other pin is in there. You can see the idler kind of rides back and forth on that. And then I'll grab the bolts that go into these holes here, get them torqued down. We're just going to loosely have these in here for right now. You can then put this brace on here and that will lock the cam in place so that you can put the timing plate in front of it and then we can torque it. Well, it's a good thing I caught this bolt that's missing because I called the customer and he took apart the intake manifold to clean it and took apart the bottom piece to put a new throttle body harness in there. But when he separated the two halves of the intake, he did not re-silicone any of the seals or anything. All right, that's it. The only thing I have left to do to finish this engine is some vacuum things here, which we'll put on once the engine is installed, and torque that crank bolt.
Hey guys, welcome back. So today on Modern Masters Auto, we have the Edition 507 C63. This is our third and final video. We will be taking the assembled engine, putting on the long tube headers, putting that engine on the subframe, and putting the subframe back up in its home in the C63. Once we've done that, we are going to do that first startup that we're all excited to hear, and then we'll be wrapping this build up because the customer has not driven it in over 3 years. So I know he is dying to drive this car. I know he's so excited. The old motor let go over a rod bearing. So with all this being freshened up and new, I know he's gonna totally love the car again. So without further ado, let's get started. All right guys, we have the engine on the engine stand. Rusty has the wiring harness and cool packs, all that's set up. We have the long tube headers here. These are the original long tube headers that were on the vehicle before. We'll put them back on the engine so it is ready. The transmission, we have stored away 507 sedan trans, and Rusty has the subframe already lowered out of the vehicle, ready for the engine. We have the motor mounts there, and we will put the motor mounts on after the long tube headers. And we have this motor all ready to go. Looks like we need to pop in a rear main seal as well. Oh, rear main seal goes right there once we have this engine off the engine stand. All right, Rusty has everything ready. I think we even have some brand new exhaust manifold gaskets. That's what I'm talking about. With the new exhaust manifold gaskets, we're gonna put the long tube headers back on the engine. And remember, anytime exhaust comes off of one of these, whether it's this engine or the 113K, any of them, always use new gaskets. And do not, repeat, do not use any gasket but OEM. If you don't, you will soon find out why you don't use any gasket but OEM. But take my word for it, use the metal multi-layer steel factory gaskets and do not have a problem with your exhaust gaskets ever. Another thing we have to do is we have to torque the crank bolt. Rusty is waiting for me. I just got back to the shop from dealing with sickness in my colon. Apparently I'm gonna have it for the rest of my life. It's called diver's arthritis, something like that, diverticulitis. It's extremely painful. I've really been going through it, but I'm here, I'm back at it. I hope you guys liked the Tesla video that we did while I was going through my sickness. So yeah, let's torque this crank bolt.
Yeah, scared me for a second.
What?
I thought that said 60.
Oh, that would have been nice. We timed everything to 60.
Yeah, not that big of a deal, but.
Yeah, not a huge deal, just wrong. I can't believe they diagnosed me with the diverticulitis. That is the worst.
I figured it came up on your ancestry kit or something.
That's what I'm saying.
Speaking of which, I should probably check mine. See if I got any.
Oh yeah, check yours, man. I'm excited to see where you're from.
Probably Clear Spring, you know, do what I guess.
All right, guys, we're gonna be torquing the crank bolt. So it is a astonishing 147 pounds, feet, and then 90-degree turn. All right, why don't we do a 90-degree turn and then the foot-pounds?
Well, actually, is you torque it to around 100.
Yeah.
And then you let it off.
Oh, then you loosen it, so you know the pulley's completely
So
seated.
seat it. Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's do that. So you tighten it to 100 foot-pounds, so it presses that bouncer in as far as it's gonna go. Then you loosen the bolt again so that you can re-torque the bolt with this fully seated. So that way the crank pulley doesn't absorb any of the torque. We know it's fully seated. All right guys, so we have our Mercedes tool in there. What is that, 17?
27.
The crank bolt's a 27.
Crank bolt is 27.
The crank bolt is a 27. You got your Mercedes tool in there to hold the crank still.
All right.
And now you do the 100 foot-pounds and you loosen it up.
All right, now you loosen it.
Loosen it, back it all the way off so there's no torque in the bolt. Reset your torque wrench to 147 feet-pounds. And now the fun part, 90 degrees. You ready to send it?
You got it?
Yeah. I'm used to finishing 2 people off by myself.
I know.
Yeah, do you got it?
That's how you got that infection. There you go.
And then you'll just safely pull this bad boy out. So this is the factory side of the tool, and we added this super awesome thing that really works. Welded all this in there.
This is the factory tool for a 113, the non-supercharged. I added these for the supercharged pulley, but now it's just universal.
Yeah, it uses all of it. And this thing is the bee's knees. All right, now we can get to the headers.
Okay, so unless you're an amateur like Craig, you want to make sure this mount is in here before you put the long tube on, just to make life a little bit easier.
Do not forget the heat shield or you will pay the price. You will replace those mounts in a month. That's factory, aftermarket, everything. Ask me how I know. Not from personal experience, but because my friend Nick is a heat shieldless, not smart person. In some states, they call that an idiot.
In our state, they call it family.
Wow, would you look at really tighten it up right there? Yeah.
Also from experience, you want to make sure you Loctite all of these, just because from the vibrations and heat of this engine, especially if you have like solid poly mounts, but even with the factory mounts, you really want to Loctite all of these so they don't end up vibrating and rattling out and you end up having an exhaust leak. So we're going to put a little bit of blue Loctite on here. It's a little Dabadooya. That's going to spread all over these threads inside of here. You're just going to put these in here by hand until they bottom out. And these are pretty easy to put on when the engine's out of the car, but these are a doozy to get all of the nuts on here on these long tubes with this engine in the car. It's a good thing you're not here today. It's a good thing you're not here today. You're just a floater.
Where am I at?
Well, you should be home spending time with your family.
You're saying I don't have to be here?
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
I should be home letting my family take care of me.
How's that working out for you?
They left me. I'm just kidding, they beat me up.
Sounds like they beat you at Madden too.
It's funny you brought that up because I was just complaining about that. I never lose at Madden.
I've never played Madden.
I never lose at Madden. She beat me at Madden.
All right, then we're gonna put a little dab on the outside of the nut. Now we just line this bad boy up. I'm gonna go ahead and get the rest of these nuts on there. Some of them are really tricky to get to, which is why I like to put these long tubes on off the car as much as possible. These two back here, when the engine's in the car, man, they are a nightmare to get lined up and get in there.
I gotta say, that's my favorite exhaust nut. I love the color of a brand new M156 exhaust nut. Are they really copper or what? I think they're like copper coated maybe?
I think they're copper.
They're just copper?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. I love the look of them. Now that's starting to look like an engine I recognize. All right, guys, so today we have the engine fully assembled. Rusty had taken care of the long tubes and the motor mounts for us, and now he is wheeling in the engine hoist. So we are going to hoist this bad boy up, put in the rear main seal, the brand new rear main seal in flywheel, and then we will bolt on our 722.931 wet clutch 7-speed transmission, and then we will lower it down onto the subframe and raise it back into our Edition 507 C63 sedan. That is one of 5 in the United States. Looks like we still need a few pulleys and knickknacks. But this thing is ready to be hoisted up and buttoned up and dropped in the beautiful, beautiful car. Well, let's go. All right, guys, Rusty is raising her up.
So we're gonna put in our rear main seal. Got a brand new rear main seal right here. I like to get a little bit of dielectric grease. And since it's hurricane season, we are gonna use the marine dielectric grease today, just so everything is safe. And we're gonna lubricate that inside and out before we install it. Okay, pop this out of here and make sure that we lubricate the inside too. That's gonna help it fold up over this lip here, and it will help make sure that it's lubricated during the first startup before any oil or anything gets there. So I'm gonna get a little bit more in there just to help it slide on. Doesn't take a whole lot, but it seems like these seals like to soak it up a lot. All right, now that the seal is DITI approved, we can slide this on here. And you want to get this tool as flush as you can. Doesn't really have to go 100%, but close as you can. And they do make special tools that kind of press these on here, but we don't need that where we're going. So it looks like the whole seal has made it the whole way around and didn't get caught on the crank. And my special tool is, I just get an extension and a hammer. Just be really careful and walk it the whole way in there. Just work my way around. And I'm always double checking to make sure the seal isn't folded over anywhere. Work your way around. And since this one's being difficult for whatever reason, I went ahead and grabbed this adapter. This is for pressing out wheel bearings, but it seems like it's gonna fit on here pretty good. Gotta help us seat this thing. All right, so I finally got that seal in there. The answer was grab a bigger hammer, and it went in there. So we're gonna slide off our adapter here now, which is stuck on there pretty good. Seal's on there, a nice even distance the whole way around, and plenty of lube. So now I can go grab the flex plate and all the new bolts, so I can put that on. Luckily, this is also shrink wrapped for freshness. So it's nice and crisp. And then you also have two of these spacers. So the thinner one goes on the inside. And you will put your flex plate on. And you have a thicker one that goes on the outside. That's gonna go just like that. And then we can get our new flywheel bolts and we can torque those on. Flywheel bolt part number if you're interested, right there. And these do have a torque spec. So we're going to torque these to 30 Newton meters and then a 90-degree turn. Definitely the cleanest engine build I think I've done so far. Other than the silicone, I don't think my hands have really had to get dirty. Everything is just squeaky clean. And let's go grab a torque wrench. We'll get these torqued down and then we can continue. Okay, so first stage of torque is 30 Newton meters. Just working a star pattern here. The 30 Newton meters isn't a big deal if you don't go in a pattern, but I'm gonna try to. Just make sure I don't miss any of them. And then when I do the 90-degree after, I'm gonna mark them with a paint marker just like I always do. Just to make sure I don't do any twice or forget to do one. So now we can move on to the 90, which I might need someone to hold the crank for me. All right, so putting Craig to work here.
I'm holding the crank.
Craig is holding the crank. He's letting everyone know about it. So we're gonna do a 90. Like we have this long tube here, I can just put my foot on to brace it.
Is it 90 degrees or 90 foot-pounds?
90 degrees.
Oh, wow. That's a lot.
That's why you're holding the crank. Come on.
Which tells us that it's a stretch bolt. The degrees is always
It is a stretch bolt, which is
what
why
does the stretching.
It's all new bolts.
All right, hold on a second. Don't torque the next one yet. I'll put this somewhere comfortable.
Marking that one so I don't forget about it.
Okay. All right, what we got, like one left?
A lot. All right.
That's all of them?
That's all of them.
Wow, nice. I'm pretty sure I did a wonderful job.
You did. Didn't move at all.
Didn't move at all.
Okay, so typically I will try and mount the transmission onto the engine, and I'll just put the engine down on the floor or a tire. But since there's long tubes on it already, I'm thinking it might be easier if I just go ahead and put the engine on the engine table and then just kind of lift the transmission up there. So I think I'm going to go ahead with that plan, and I'm going to get the engine over there and set her down onto the subframe. So I'm going to get the car up in the air a little higher. I mean, that's probably not too high for me since I'm about 4 foot tall, but I'm going to put it up so the engine hoist can fit in there much easier. Okay, so I was about to get the engine ready and realized I don't have any transmission cooler lines. So I looked in the trunk and found my lines, although he is missing the little clips that go on in here, but I should have some of those in my toolbox. I try to keep all that kind of stuff like that as often as I can, but for whatever reason I also found these in the trunk, which there's no real reason to take those off. The engine just comes straight down and the drive shaft just pulls straight out. So I went and looked up here, and the drive shaft is just kind of flopping around, and I was like, okay, no big deal. I'll just tighten this bolt back up. But this is cross-threaded pretty bad, if you can see that. I already tried to get it out of there with my impact. It just kind of spins, and unfortunately it's a captured nut up here. So I gotta figure out something with that before I move forward, because right now I have room to get up in there and mess with it, whereas once there's a transmission here, there won't be as much room. So I'm gonna do the best I can to get that bolt out of there, maybe replace that nut inside of there. I'm really hoping I don't have to go out that far, because as you can see, it's welded in there in that plate, so it doesn't really come out of there very easily. But I'll figure something out and we'll keep moving forward. Okay, so I got it out, and I know what you're wondering. You're wondering, Rusty, how in the world did you get it out of there? Well, I'll tell you.
Well, we're waiting.
I beat the shit out of it with a hammer, and the whole thing came flying up out of there. Bent this out of the way, which is perfect, and this is mostly intact. So I think the good thing is all I need to do is find a new nut to go on the bolt that will get captured by this thing here, and it should be able to go back together just like factory. So yeah, when in doubt, beat it with a hammer. All right, all back together just like factory. Even got a matching bolt on both sides because I had to cut the old bolt in half to get it out of there, and then beat it with a hammer, and all that other factory stuff is down in there. Crisis averted. I think I'm gonna go ahead and put these heat shields up here before I forget, and it's too late once I get the engine and exhaust and everything up there. So get all these in there and get the front half of that drive shaft that comes up to here, pop that guy in there, and then we can get the engine and trans together.
All right, guys, Rusty has the engine on the engine hoist. We're about to drop it down onto the subframe, and we needed some help, so we called Mr. Carter to come in and spin around on this chair while we lower the engine. What do you think, Carter? Oh, very nice. You're talented. All right. Thank you, Carter. Good job today. So, is that your first engine install into a subframe?
Yeah.
You did a good job. Do you know what you were holding?
I don't know.
You were holding the arm to the steering rack. That's what steers the car, that steering shaft. Yep, we had Carter holding the steering shaft so it wouldn't get bound up between the engine and the long tube because it's attached to the rack that's bolted to the subframe currently down there. And we have both motor mounts in their home, and she will sit upright, and now we can put the trans on the engine. All right, tell everybody bye.
everybody, make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Perfect. Reporting live from the 507. Where are we at, Rusty? Where are we at on this bad boy?
So today we are getting all the little nooks and crannies together before we put the transmission on. I went ahead and put the AC lines on the compressor because it's way easier to do it now than when the engine's in there because it's really tight to get back in here. So if you have the option to, put those on first. And I went ahead and put the starter on because the long tubes makes it very difficult. So I took that opportunity to do that now. Yeah, she's in there tight.
Yeah.
And the customer provided brand new dowels, which is pretty awesome for the transmission. So those are in there. And
one on each side here.
yeah. And I am now getting all the pulleys in because I figured might as well put the belt on it. So, but I noticed tried and true Mercedes water pump fashion, which drives me nuts, is this hole's not tapped.
Every time.
So what's this, a $400 water pump? Something like that?
Yep.
And they can't tap it, but they tap this one. There's threads in this one, but not this one, so.
Insane.
Yeah. You get what you pay for, I guess.
This engine looks beautiful, though.
Oh, I know.
Looks very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So he cheaped out and didn't get a new alternator, though.
Oh, God. Poor guy.
Yeah.
The thousands and thousands of dollars. Didn't even bother to get that $1,000 alternator.
Yeah.
Looks really good, though.
Yeah. So I'm going to tap this real quick and then get the pulleys on.
Let's tap her up.
Good to go. And while I'm here, this idler right here in the center, this gets lost all the time when people do these. So it does not come with a new pulley. So if you take this pulley off to replace it, make sure you keep this little adapter. That's what bumps out here and lines this pulley up with the rest of them. So make sure you don't lose that. And we got one more here. And for whatever reason, they choose to put a different screw in that one than all the others. So I'll grab the socket for that and tighten him up. And we have our new belt here. I left the pin in the tensioner, so it's gonna hold it for us and make it a lot easier for the belt to go on. And in general, almost every Mercedes belt is route generally the same way. So you're gonna go around the crank like this, and you're gonna loop around the tensioner and come this way, and then this end goes up and around the power steering pump. And if you just follow that, I mean basically every Mercedes is like that, and you can just kind of figure it out from there. And you never have to look at a diagram ever again. Just remember it wraps around the crank and then comes this way back from the tensioner. And if you ever have trouble getting a belt on, especially a brand new one, leave a smooth pulley for the last step. And that way you don't have to fight over any kind of ridges or anything, and get around there. And I can just kind of push it and slide it up over that pulley. And that will get everything on there nice and tight. Make sure we're on all of the ribs the whole way around. And then we can pull this pin out. And I like to save these little pins. They're really nice to have when you change a belt later on and you're not putting a new tensioner on there. You just pull that back, slide the pin into this hole, and it'll hold everything on there for you.
Ready?
We're gonna try to balance it on that
1, 2, 3.
wood there. Just a second. I was worried about this.
What?
It's the wrong transmission.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right, I got it from here.
He's got it from here.
You can go back to playing Candy Crush or whatever you're doing.
I don't play any phone games. I stopped that in like 2015 when I put $4,000 into Boom Beach because I had to show my employees who Daddy was in that game. Dude, I was addicted to Boom Beach, but I had the best shit.
I like Clash of Clans.
I never get into any of them just because after the Boom Beach experience, I realized you can't play child games with adult money. You will put too much into
the idea, yeah, it's because
I literally want to pay to win.
I've never put $1 in any of them.
All right, guys, Rusty is About to mate the transmission to the engine. Look how beautiful everything looks.
So anytime you're doing this, there's a little bit of resistance because you have a little bit of corrosion on the bell housing, you have brand new dowels on there. If you're gonna force it together like we just did, always take one of these access holes out and spin the wet clutch or your torque converter with your hand to make sure it's not binding anywhere. Because what can happen is if this wet clutch or torque converter is not seated into the transmission the entire way and you force this transmission together, it's gonna crack the pump inside the transmission.
Yep, make sure the wet clutch, you put your hand in there, spin that thing around. That way you know it's not bound up on that. We just had new dowels and old engine and trans, so that is going to always be a nice snug fit. And there you have it, people. We have an engine and trans ready to go up inside the car. All right.
Going up.
All right, guys, she is making her way into her home. As you can see, we're getting it really close, getting everything lined up. But when you do this, you want to watch all these hoses in the front to make sure they're routed right. And then you want to line the bottom of the radiator up to its home right here, and then all these hose routings are going the correct way.
Okay, so I was having trouble getting the subframe to completely seat level because the long tubes were pressing down on the back of my engine table here. So what I did was I took these brackets out of the back bolts that go in the subframe here, just to give me a little bit more room to catch some threads. And then now that I have the engine off of the engine table, I can let it down and I'll take one bolt out at a time and put these brackets back in. All right, so all the subframe bolts are in, trans mount bolts are in. Now we can let the engine table down.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Just so you guys have some kind of an idea, we have the oil cooler lines right here and here that go into the engine right there. AC line that goes into the condenser. Fan needs to go in and then get plugged in. Tie rod, control arms on both sides that need plugged in. The wet clutch bolts that need plugged in, bolted in. Steering shaft needs hooked back up. This needs mounted and oxygen sensors need plugged in. Transmission harness needs plugged in and heat shield put back on the transmission. The drive shaft bolts need put in the bushing there, and then we will need to put in the midsection of the exhaust. Wow, I've never seen that before. Holy shit. Are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? Look at that. I have never seen that before in my life. That has to be a flow restriction. Holy shit. Leslie, have you ever seen that before?
What is it?
Did you even notice that when you were
No, I didn't look inside. Why would I look inside?
Isn't
Is
that
that the
nuts?
90 inside of it?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. That is incredible. See something new every day, I guess. Very strange. Very strange. Let me know if you guys have ever seen anything like that before, because I sure as hell have not. But yeah, then we need to fill the trans, do the trans service, hook up this exhaust. Look how rusty that is. Oh, we need to get that out of there. Oh,
You know what causes that?
oh God. What?
Your oxygen sensor adapter being inside your long tube.
That is not what causes that, but that is funny. Oh boy, that's hilarious.
There used to be one back here, but it just rusted away.
Yeah, never seen so much rust laying down in there. But that's Florida for you. Car is sitting, so.
And water?
There's just so much moisture in the air in Florida. Everything, the humidity, rusts everything. Rusts everything. Rusty. All right, guys, so Rusty has been a busy beaver And last night he was able to get all the suspension components reinstalled, all the hoses. Everything is done up there. You can see lower radiator hose, transmission cooler lines. The oxygen sensors are secured, bolted up. Everything is looking good. Exhaust is together. We are replacing both these V-band clamps. This one is worn out and the other one was just completely broken. So we are going to do that. Not sure how they made that exhaust, but we're gonna put new clamps on so it's secured. And then our drive shaft is back together. Everything is ready. Rusty did fill the trans with our special tool. He did the liquid moly oil change because, you know, the best or nothing. And we're about to lower it down and start this bad boy for the first time. All right, guys, so you can see here, Rusty has everything buttoned up, looking good. ECU is put away, coolant reservoir is filled, power steering reservoir is filled, belts on, pulleys on, oil's filled. He did all the cool packs and plugs. You can see the intake manifold stressed. Oh, Florida, sunny Florida. It does a special thing to cars. But right now we are removing the starter relay. We're going to put in a manual relay and we're going to crank the starter to crank the engine over, build oil pressure. We like to do this on every new build because we want the oil completely circulated, everything to have touched oil, and we want to hear a good cranking engine before we throw fuel and spark at it. He's putting it in position 1. I still have to tune this ECU later today, folks. So we're just going to do crank, hear purr for a second, and then I will tune the ECU. All right, send it.
It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
All right, guys, so we tested everything and we determined that Rusty's relay was faulty. We tried it on another car. We usually use that and it works perfectly, but I guess we overused it and it was faulty. That's what was blowing the fuses. We put a new battery in the trunk because we did test the battery even with the jump box on. It had battery voltage but no actual amperage. So we are ready to go. All the cool packs are unplugged, so we are good to go to do a crank. You can hear the lifters building up oil. All right, Rusty, that should be good. All right, guys, this is the moment we have waited for, the moment the customer has waited for. We are going to plug the cool packs in and we are going to attempt the first start. The only other worry that I have is there is old fuel in the system. We did put a fuel treatment thing in it about 2 weeks ago, so it's sat in there. Hopefully it's helping the fuel, and yeah, we'll get this thing fired up. All right, last cool pack's being plugged in. Oil level is good?
Yep.
Sweet. And here we are, off to the races.
Everybody ready?
I think we're ready, sir. Let's do it. Looking good, buddy. Looking good. Looking good, sounding good. Sounding's good, right?
Yep.
How's all the gauges look?
TPMS lights on.
What's that?
The TPMS lights on.
TPMS lights on. Oh, we can't have that. 119,000. All right. She is looking good. Looking good, sounding good. We're gonna let it get up to temp and then we will change the oil. But that wraps up this video. Stay tuned for the liquid moly oil change video and driving and delivery to Florida. All right, guys, well, that wraps up today's video. We hoped you liked this build series. It wraps up the engine build. We cranked it, we started it, and it ran flawlessly. My best friend right here has killed it yet again. He's amazing. Master mechanic, master engine builder, master best friend, Rusty Baker. I love him. So if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up.
Share with your friends.
And subscribe. And I'll see all of you on the next one. Boop. He did good, Rusty. He did good. I think you even got some hair back from this one. Nice, look at that. Just holographic limited edition bald spot. 507, look at it.
That's how many hairs I have left.
You did good, you did good. We are getting ready to put the engine and trans in the car once Nick stops talking to us. All right, testing, testing. Oh, I'm a little chilly after that lunch. Where are you going?
I'll just move the shelf this table real quick, that'll help. All right, are you done screwing around? Can we get back to business?
First of all, I never screw around. Third of all, you. I'm really happy with that. That was awesome.
Yeah.
We're happy.
It was a very unclimactic first start.
It always is.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah, you never, I mean, well, at least we got the starter thing.
Oh, that's true.
That was fun. We had a little, oh my God, what's going on? Why is it not starting? Yeah, but other than that, it's always like, all right, it starts. Rusty did a perfect job yet again. All right, cool deal. See you guys later.